Hello everyone, welcome to the Roundup here on BloodbowlLive, here to go through all of the action from the last week in the A&DBBL Season 9. Scott and Tom joining me this week as always to go through every game. 10 games to go through from the last week, and some good fixtures as well. So we'll dive almost straight in. Before we do go straight in though, a couple of things as reminders. Firstly, mugs are available. Contact Mr. Scott Bryant if you are.
My mic is going.
Oh, Scott is having technical issues. I don't know. He's still there.
We're all right. Yeah.
We're all right. Mugs, yes, still available. £15 of which £6 goes to St Elizabeth's Hospice. Scott modelling said mug. They look beautiful, branded up.
Just a big shout out to Jane, to James, and to Carl for being the first 3 purchasers of said mugs. So don't lose out. If you want to be as cool and cheeky as James Handley, get a mug, DM me, raise money for charity.
Yes, contact Scott directly if you want a mug. Secondly, obviously there's been the announcement today about the 3rd season. We're not going to talk about the 3rd season right now, but once this stream finishes, we will be doing a very special one-off New Dice Please Live where we will be talking about the announcement and everything that's come from that. So jump off this one when it's done and jump straight back on it. We'll be right there. Let's dive straight in, though. Let's dive straight in to
sorry. And Chris, you might have an echo, just so.
I've got an echo. Okay.
So you might need to go to your.
Go to my
Twitch and turn.
I've not got it on, so I don't
know why. Double input, apparently.
Double input. Why would there be a double input? Just for context, Scott is running this week's technical side, so I don't know how to fix this. Is anyone else echoing? Tom, are you echoing?
I hear all of you, well, both of you absolutely fine, but then again, we're going directly through the stream. But chat on Twitch is saying that you've got you're very echoey. I'm sounding good, apparently. Wow,
Tom sounds good. I sound bad. I've got a feeling I know why I sound bad.
Apparently, I sound good though.
Sound good as well.
Thank you,
so
James.
It is just me. Fantastic. Okay. Well, then I'll try and do as little talking as possible, and then we'll try and sort this out later. First game we have got this week is Tipsy Tankards versus In for a Penny, In for a Pound. It was a 2-0 win for the North side. In what was a strong week for Robert. We've got 2 others of his games coming up as well. Robert has been doing very well this season. He's had 1 loss, but otherwise it has been win. He's had a great record, and his team are looking pretty scary.
Yeah, nice. This one definitely seemed to be a lot of weather going on. So straight away, they had started off with nice weather. Then it went to pouring rain, and then it also had a blizzard involved here as well. So clearly, the weather potentially played a big part on it. I'm not sure how well this was actually done live, but nothing seems to have really happened until turn 8, where the first touchdown comes in. And then there's straight away there's an injury on turn 10. So Tipsy Tankards are already down by 1 player. A lot of fouling, and then there's a second touchdown on turn 15. And then on turn 15, the sun comes out and it's all nice weather again. So it sounded like a bit of a crazy one by the sounds of things. Maybe people in the chat can give us a bit more information as to whether this was a crazy one all down to the weather and the ball was slipping all over the place, or whether it was just a pretty straightforward 2-0 win for Robert.
Robert has got another result here, but James, probably looking at how Robert's done in previous seasons and this season, James has got off quite sort of lightly here to not have any injuries, because Robert has caused a lot of damage with his team.
Yeah, absolutely. And that team is pretty stacked with a lot of skills now.
Just before we go on to look at the Norse team, I was very, I think it's a 2-0 is a solid result for Robert. If we look at the SP 10-6, so James having a good match. The one thing I was intrigued about, not just the changing weather, as you said there, Tom, but I was really intrigued by the choices of inducement to take 2 kegs, so 100k, plus then Acorn. Now, don't get me wrong, taking Acorn is a fine choice on any day of the week. But given the amount of inducements, I was surprised. Is that a typical inducement you think people usually go for with sort of 200k in the bank? Chris, is that something you would have done, or would you have gone for a single star player, maybe another reroll?
Oh god, yeah, I can hear myself sometimes as well. I'm going to try and do everything I can to sound okay. I think Acorn and 2 kegs is an interesting option. I think the kegs, considering how punchy Robert is possibly a good shout. James is only running with 1 reroll, so I'd maybe have been tempted by 1 keg and maybe a keg, a mascot, and some team training would have maybe been what I'd have been tempted by, just to give me that reroll.
Especially with all those that weather, even though weather is a very nice thing in hindsight as well. Okay, and I know we're going to come on to it, but how filthy incredible at 1360 is that Norse looking, Tom?
It looks horrific now, doesn't it? Yeah, I do not want to come across that team ever. Even with a badly stacked, busted Berserker with an armor 7 and Edge 4, it's still got a Mighty Blow Guard tackle on it and 23 SPP out of 28 sitting there. So that's a target for someone, if ever there was one.
Whilst you talk on that, Chris, sorry, 2 secs, we're being interrupted. I think this might be an update on Snakegate. I'm just streaming at the moment.
We're having a good week.
Oh, now I'm echoing.
When I'm finished, yeah.
No, I think I know what the issue is. Tell you what, everyone, we're going to jump onto the homepage. I think I can solve this technical issue. We're going to solve it and then we'll be back. So, Scott, take us onto the homepage. We'll be back shortly. Right. Can you share your screen? You do it through Video Ninja. One of the kind of options at the bottom where the mic is and the camera and all that stuff, there's a share screen with others option. Audio settings. On Video Ninja, it looks like a little TV screen. Oh, we can still be heard. Okay, I think I know why we can still be heard. So what I think the issue is, and we're just going to persevere with this, is that I think you're sharing desktop audio. So if you can share your screen with me, I can tell you what to change. I hope everyone's enjoying this. Is a lovely alternative. Okay, right. So you see there under your audio mixer, it says desktop audio. Mute that. Cool. We can all be seen now, and it's muted there as well. Cool. And go onto the cameras and tour play.
This is how it is, guys. This is rock and roll.
And then desktop audio is muted. Cool. Great.
You're seeing all the special sauce behind.
Everyone's saying we sound good. Cool. We're back to normal. How fantastic. Well done. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us through that. Should we go on to the next game?
Let's.
Well, the next game is Necromantic Horror versus Amazons. It's the Wolverhampton Shamblers versus the Lavender Lynxes. And it was a 1-1 draw here for these two in Middenheim Group. A game that was a very important one for both teams because a win for Graham would confirm his place in the top 4, and a win for Jane kept her hopes alive of the top 4. But a 1-1 draw here left the group in a slightly precarious place and left Graham slightly vulnerable to other results. But a good result for Jane here with 2 casualties coming in as well. Tom, you are our necromantic horror expert, so you're the person I always go to with this. Jane has got a strong team here. She's had this is a decent result, and she started. Now you look at her team, it does start to look like there's more than just the one or two players with skills. So she should be in a quite strong place going forward.
Yes, yeah. So she's obviously focused quite heavily on one particular wolf previously, but as you quite rightly say, she's now got guard on both her flesh golems. She's got kick on a zombie, which actually is quite useful in a necromantic team if you wanted to do a quick kind of get it quite close to the touch line or the halfway line, and then run a werewolf in or a ghoul runner. So got block and sidestep on a ghoul runner, which is really nice now. But actually, on this actual kind of game, it's interesting because Graham had a huge amount of inducement money, 330. So he took 2 part-time assistants, 1 Bloodweiser keg, Carrie Cold Steel, and Estelle La, whatever the person's name is.
There we are, everybody in chat. We are appealing to any of our French audience this evening, courtesy of Mr. Hovel.
I got an F in French, so I thought that was quite good.
You are an F in French, indeed.
Yes, exactly. But it seemed to, again, weather came in on this one, pouring rain after turn 8, which with necromantic is never a good thing. So it was nice to see that Jane got her touchdown in first of all, but that may have been the reason why it been a backwards and forward game in the second half.
Scott, Graham's lost quite a lot of players in previous games, ended up with lots of journeymen, missed next games, and all this kind of thing. No journeyman on this one, and possibly a deliberate choice then to take not only a star player, but also a coach that can play for you.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice. And again, the star players available to you for Amazons aren't the best. Let's be honest. If you look at them, they're never the particular best. Although Estelle Lavenue, she's okay. She's got the hypno gaze and a few other tricks up, her sleeve, snakes included. I think it's actually a really good performance from Graham in light of that, especially going 1-0 down. So James controlled that first half, controlled the drive, got the touchdown, and then pouring rain. So for Graham to come back to make sure he gets that, he has taken a few more casualties, as we can see, particularly from the flesh golem. 4 SP on a flesh golem is always a good thing. So I think despite everything, Graham has done really well to get the point, to get the result, and to obviously really impact his position and cement that 4th place in Middenheim. So I think it was a really good game from Graham.
Well done to both coaches. A hard-fought draw here. This group is now decided, but we'll have a look at the groups a little bit later on. We will go on to the next game, which is in the same group, and it was a 1-1 draw, the Elf Preservation Society versus the Wild Edge Berserkers. A game that was a must-win game for Mark. In this one, he had to get the win, and then another win to get out of the group in the top 4. Which makes this one slightly tricky to talk about, Scott. This is the group that you're in, and I think the tough thing here is that it was a must-win for Mark. He needed to win to get out of the group. He has held Jamie, who has looked unstoppable, to a draw and to a turn 16 touchdown draw at that.
Yeah.
This is a really strong result from Mark, even though it wasn't the one he needed.
I think despite, fouling, which is not the typical thing you do with Woodies, but despite the sending off there, we can see on Team 5, taking the lead with a War Dancer, and then the War Dancer ironically getting missed next game through a blitz. Jamie has been absolutely on fire with these dwarfs this season. He's been controlling the games with them really, really well. And then there have been other coaches, myself, Mr. Baggett, and others included, who have really, come a cropper in terms of the body count. If we look at the overall position, 4 casualties, for the elves. So they're really 4 and the death. Let's not forget that as well. So really, really difficult. And so I think therefore to get that 1-1 draw against the World Edge Berserkers. I think it's a really good result from Mark. I think he's doing a great job with the Woodies. They can be behind the curve, as we've seen with a lot of other teams this season. So I think for him to get a point out of this, despite the death, despite the casualties, I think he's had a really, really good game on this one, and it feels like he's starting to get the style and all the ethos of how to play and get the most out of Woodies as well. Jamie just knows how to play dwarves so well. It's almost a cliche. We keep saying that as well. So yeah, a good game, both coaches. Unfortunately, not enough to promote Mark up to the championship, but I'm sure he'll be able to do a few tricks in the conference.
Yeah, Tom, that's what I wanted to ask you is Mark's team is he's got a wood elf in this team that's got dodge, block, and sprint. So he's got kind of a budget war dancer in there. He's also then got his two other war dancers, although one's going to be missing the first playoff game. He's got leader on a thrower, so he's got 4 rerolls in this team and an APOC. There's not many other skills there, but based on how Mark has kind of improved as the season's gone on, do you think we are looking at 2 teams here in the Wood Elves and the Dwarfs that could both have a really strong playoff march?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You should never kind of write off Wood Elf team anyway. Our esteemed colleague Scott is proof of that he can. Doesn't matter how many players are off the pitch, they're still a threat. And the same with the Dwarfs. It's interesting looking at the Dwarf team as well on that side of things, where he's actually got, almost to the point where he doesn't want to get any more skills on these Dwarfs because they are so kind of heavily skilled up. The interesting little thing I noticed down at the very bottom on the sideline stuff, he doesn't have an apothecary on these Dwarfs, so that could have a huge impact if someone gets a cheeky kind of injury on one of these Dwarfs. That would really maybe hinder him in the future games.
Yeah, he's sitting on an incredible treasury as well, 445,000. Once he knows his playoff opponent, he can kind of spend if he wants to. He can sit on it if he wants to. He's got sitting SPP on a lot of players that he can spend. He's in a really strong position here. And I think this team, I don't think the team we're looking at here is the team that whoever gets him in playoffs is going to be facing. I think they're going to be facing something a lot scarier. And I think it's one to watch for sure.
And just on that note, Chris, the current team value there, 1.2 million. If Jamie decides to take another skill on the blocker here, plus of course, then he's got enough. Is 8 enough for a third skill? No, not quite, is it? So he can take at least 2 skills, another skill on the Dwarf Runner, a skill first of all on the Troll Slayer as well, and a second skill on the Blitzer. So that's going to push him up to 1.3 million. And when you will be playing some of the other teams in the championship, other teams aren't going to get sort of 150, 200, 250,000 in terms of inducements. They're not going to be able to have that complete choice in terms of what star players do they want, how do they want to tailor their inducement package to take on the Dwarfs, unless they decide at the last minute to cut half of their roster, take linemen, and then try and get inducements that way. But whoever you take for inducements against this team, even if you take Zug, not Zug, even if you take Morg, you've still got to be rolling 8s before you even, break armor, and then you've got to be rolling, 8s, not 9s to get a case, 8 and 9, to get. No, I'll put my maths on here. 9s and 10s with thick skull. Thank you, Tom.
Two scary teams here, but we'll go on to the next fixture, which is another victory for Robert this week, a 2-1 victory for his North side against Tom Huns and his 5 Rules of Dodge Dark Elf team. A game that was a bit brutal for Tom. 1 player dead, 3 injured on this one, and Robert doing very well here to get another victory. I think I was kind of keeping an eye on this one because this felt, of all the fixtures left in this group, this felt like quite a big one for kind of group position and who was going to finish where. The top 4 teams in this group have all been pretty scary to face. And this felt like one that was going to be very interesting as to who would kind of probably get into that second place spot in the group. It kind of went, as I was watching it, I just kind of felt, and Tom, I don't know about you, but I kind of felt as the things were happening in this game, the more it went on, the more I thought Robert was going to have the edge here, because he was removing players early on, although he had players removed himself. The Dark Elves took the lead on turn 4, but as soon as Robert equalised on turn 8, and then a dead elf comes shortly after, I kind of thought it looked like I just pictured Tom having lots of players off the field and the Norse being able to then control and get the kind of 2-1 grind.
Yeah, and of course he also had 3 journeymen on the pitch as well. So that could potentially have an impact and start robbing you of re-rolls from that perspective. It seems to be quite a bit of a running theme here. At the start of this season, I really thought, oh, here we go. There's a whole load of Dark Elf teams in here in the league. This is going to be the main threat. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, the Dark Elf teams have really had a spot of bad luck, really.
It's been mixed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think I thought it was going to be maybe more Dark Elf dominance, and we have seen some Dark Elf dominance, like Claws of Corn, for example, and Swamp Dome have topped the group. But you're right, kind of elsewhere, it has been a bit more mixed. Sort of JD struggled a little bit in his group. Scott's struggled a little bit. Tom has managed to make it out of the group. Simon's future is still kind of in the balance in Dark Side. So I do see what you mean. It's kind of maybe not the dominance that we anticipated.
Yeah,
it does feel, as a Dark Elf player this season as well myself, it does feel that there has been an incredible amount of attrition this season. Elves particularly have struggled, and we'll come on to talk about other teams shortly as well. But if you look at, Tom, as Mr. Huns, that is, as Mr. Hovel rightly said, he had to take 3 journeymen to start with, another death, plus 3 more injuries. That's his team.
Yeah.
So if you look at team, you're not going to get if Tom might decide on the Witch Elf to roll for a random skill with 7 SP. He might decide to roll random in terms of that Blitzer. He might decide to go for it. But if you look at that, he's got 3 fans, 2 rerolls, only 110k. Now he is at 820k. So even with so what will he need? He'll need 5 linemen, so that's 300k. So all of a sudden that takes this team straight up to 1.1 mil. Your inducements aren't going to be that much at that stage against some of the. So if, for example, we talk about this versus that team of Jamies that we just talked about, the dwarfs, 1.2 million at the moment, they could be 1.3 million. If this team is up at 1.1 million, then you will look at that gap and think, well, you've got 150, maybe 200k. You can get one, maybe 2, 1.5 star players if you're lucky. There is an option within, obviously, Dark Elves you could get 2-star players. You can get Glimmer, Swiftfine, Glimmer Shard, and Acorn if you wanted them just to get players on the pitch. So there are always options, and again, they are always dangerous, but attrition has been really impacting that. So it'll be really interesting in terms of what chat thinks about that. APOC seem to have had a bit of a shocking season this year. I'm not going to lie, they don't really seem to be needing their money. However, I have to sort of doubt myself then, because my APOC did, as we'll come on to see, did have a bit of a moment this week, so I'll take that.
Interesting tactic from Tom. Kind of, he's saving that treasury in case he needs to replace a key player, or maybe to buy another Witch Elf rather than spend it on linemen to fill out the roster. Kind of taking that risk of the loner reroll on those linemen. So he's got 1 game left in the group against Leanne's Goblins. So there's an opportunity there for secret weapons to cause him some more pain. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how he looks when we get to the knockout stage, which is only a week away. We will move on to
Mark says in chat, and just a shout to Mark, APOC thankfully saved one of my war dancers. So there you go. Every now and then they can come through.
Perfect. On to the next game then, and it is another game in Middenheim, and it is none other than our own Mr. Scott Bryan. It is a 3-0 victory for the Dark Elves over the Wolverhampton Shamblers, 2-2 on the casualty front. Here, Scott, you can tell us how this one went down. A good result to end the group stage and to carry on into playoffs.
It was, thanks, Chris. First of all, shout out to all the other coaches who were in Hopsters on Friday night. If you do get the chance to play Hopsters, recommend it. So who did we have in? There was Harrison playing James, that will come on to shortly. There was Elliot playing Carl. Elliot, just in case his mum is listening, he was only drinking water. And there was Simon against Dave as well. Personally, I wasn't drinking water, and I seem to have found my groove. I think having a few beers and alcohol playing Blood Bowl is now the optimal Scott Bryant combination. I decided to take the extra team training to give me that third reroll, and I decided to take Swiftfine Glimmershard because she does have that stab skill as well. Jane's team were looking very ominous on paper. I decided, as I do usually, in light of all the bash, to get that touchdown as early as possible. So Tom Hovell, there he is, gets his touchdown, got it early with turn 3, held off and made, so first of all, held off. And I did get, as you can see, Dave, the Prince of Ipswich, got a stat bust on, first of all, a Ghoul Runner. So that was pleasing. And then guess what? Tom Hovell does it again, gets a cash on gets a cash on the zombie lineman as well. If I actually remember as well, Jane did get a casualty with this flesh golem here. It was against Dave, the Prince of Ipswich Rue. However, the APOC came to good, pumped him up full of drugs, and sent him back into the reserves, which was nice. I just want to apologise as well to Jane because she tried to do a rush pickup with Jason Kelsey, her star player, the Ghoul Runner, and failed the rush. The dice had been pretty awful for Jane, if I'm honest with you, particularly for the first half. Quite a number of double skulls and both downs, and I think by the end of the first 3 turns, we both used up all of our re-rolls as well. So I rolled the dice. The dice went straight through the armor, straight to injury, and I believe it was a roll 6. So I did feel pretty bad about that because Jane's done a lot of investment in Jason Kelchi to get him to the Edge 2 position as well. And after that, the ball was available. So, a few strip balls, a few getting the ball off the pitch. And then, as you hear, Tom Hovell again. You were on fire, Tom. Well done on Friday. And managed to score as well with Jamie. You take the night off the Dwarves. And, it was one of those. So, okay, Simon Stevenson got a bit of a punch in the face towards the end. And it was one of those days where for Jane, I think the dice had really thrown it in terms of, and the Delves, I seemed to do quite well. So that was a nice finish to regular season.
Tom, for both these coaches, going into this game, there was no position in the top 4 to fight for, so it was just putting yourself in the best position for the playoffs. And both coaches are coming away with rosters with all their positionals that they had at the beginning of the game. They've got them at the end of the game. So while it's not the result Jane will have wanted, they've both kept their players where they need them for sort of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to be one of those games where one person just dominated. So congratulations and well done, Scott, on this one. This looked like a very solid one. So
all done to you, Tom. All done to Tom Hovell, as you saw it there.
But you've said in past that you've kind of found these Dark Elves frustrating and not your team. But clearly this game kind of served you well. Was there anything different you did?
I think having the 4 blitzers with a few skills, having the 2 witch elves as well. I haven't got a runner. I haven't got an assassin. I don't, they did feel a lot more balanced. I felt I played them a lot better. I think the third reroll really, really helped. But actually getting towards the end of the second half, We got to turn, I think it was turn 6 of the second half, and I still had 3 re-rolls left, which really helped them, because then you can go for, the YOLOs sort of start coming into play, and you can do the few extra rushes, you can do the few extra dodges through as well. So that helped and worked as well. Interesting. I was chatting to Jane about this, and interesting. She was looking at the Shamblers, and suggesting maybe this might be the current last season for a while that we'll see them.
I think it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because we know that New Edition is now going to be in play for the next season. So it is a case of, I think we've probably seen the last of a lot of these iterations of teams that we've seen for a while. So that's the Shamblers, that's the Wild Edge Berserkers, that's the Ducks. We've got a lot of teams there that are, where if we see them again, they are going to be starting fresh. So very interesting to see what happens there. Well done to you, Scott. Well done to Jane as well, the pair of you, for playing out a good game. We'll move on to the next fixture, which was a tough day at the office for the Disco Danger Rats 2 versus the Los Amazons Dodgers here. A 2-1 loss and 6-1 in favor of the Amazons for the casualties. An absolutely brutal game here. One that we saw, I saw a few pictures of, and the number of rats that were left on the field for the Skaven team was not very many. Scott, we know what Skaven can do. We've seen James do what Skaven can do on numerous occasions. The thing that I keep saying is, you score 3 and win, or you don't win at all. And it appears to be correct for James this season.
It was. And just to draw your attention to a couple of little things that made me smile. The fact that Harrison took a Weather Mage, that really made me smile, because I can't remember the last time anyone took a Weather Mage. It was very sunny to start, and well, what can I say? First of all, Harrison was rolling red NDP dice, and they were absolutely on fire. They really, really were. So if anybody out there does have New Dice Please dice, the red ones especially, for any really good rolls and for any outstanding games that they help deliver, we will absolutely take full credit. If they don't roll as well as you expect and they're slightly disappointing, you can always approach us and buy for a reasonable fee a new set, just to make sure the first one are working okay. But in terms of this one, it was one of those days where Harrison really, really played well. And again, it got to a point with James where, as you rightly say, Chris, Skaven can be on fire to destroy the opposition, or they can be on fire to destroy themselves. And it did get to a point which did make me smart, that James was fouling with gutter runners to get them sent off to protect them for the next match. But at the end, he did have 4 rats on the pitch, and he was going for a 1-turn touchdown. So you can't ask for better than that, really, can you? So kudos to James for doing that. It was, at one point, you had one gutter runner in the corner of the pitch, surrounded by Amazons, and he went for a 2 dice uphill blitz to try and get out, dodge out, etc., etc. And it was something that we've seen before. It can happen. It was just on this particular night, despite James coming back, taking the lead, Harrison controlled it, came back, and again, impacted some of the gutters, as you can see. It was one of those days for young James as well. So after that turn 8 score, it felt like a matter of time. James, I think he had a couple of rats left. I think some of them came back for that turn 4. He could have scored, but with the blizzard, really, really difficult. But both coaches had a really good game, and it was really nice to see 2 players enjoying playing each other in a game of Blood Bowl.
Tom, the Amazons here have needed this result. It was a good win for them. They are all but qualified. They need some very peculiar results to kind of not go their way elsewhere, or 1 point from their remaining game to get through. James was through already, and he's got most of his team protected, so he'll be pretty happy. It's good to see we're finally kind of seeing a breakthrough in this group, because there were a lot of people very tightly packed on points, and we're now just starting to see a few people look like they're in a better position, and Harrison's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And being an Orc player, I'm not surprised he did so well considering the colour of his dice, because we know that red is always better, makes the dice go faster. So yeah, well done for him on that side of things. It's an interesting one for Harrison, because Harrison has always played orcs, and switching to Amazons, which is a completely different style. But obviously, over this season, he's had a kind of a mixed bag of kind of games. But slowly but surely, he's getting the hang of these Amazons and seems to be obviously enjoying them. So yeah, pleased to hear that he's managed to get through, and good luck in the next couple of games.
Well, another coach
Sorry, Chris,
Scott.
I was just going to say, looking at how, just to finish off what Tom was saying there about Harrison's team, couple of now players with tackle and kicks, so that's really going to influence how he plays against any agile teams. Blodger in terms of another lineman as well. His Python thrower, sure hands, Hail Mary passer. He's always got the Tom Hovell special up his sleeve if he wants to, of hoofing it down the pitch. And again, he's got on the ball, fine, he can get to the ball. He's got safe pass. So if the Hail Mary doesn't go as expected, the ball can drop next to him and it's not a turnover. So yeah, that could be looking very, very interesting indeed. 5 up with a reroll. It's always doable as well. Grab on your Jaguar and block on the other one. So yeah, it feels like this Amazon team from Harrison is just coming together. And of course, as we know, Mr. James Handley. Oh, look at all that beautiful gutter runner filth.
Well, another coach who needed a win is Elliot in this group, and a win is what he got in the next game. Goblins 2-1 victory over the Ogres in a stunty face-off in this group. 4-4 on the casualties, of which 3 injuries and 1 dead for the Goblins. A really sort of hard fought game here between the two stunty coaches, but ultimately a win for the Goblins here puts them in a better position. Again, it's going to be very, very close. Very, very close on this one in this group as to who gets through. But this is a win that Elliot very much needed. It's a win that means Carl is not going to progress in the top part. He needed to win all of his remaining games to be in for a shout. So he will go through to the conference. But Scott, we do love a stunty face-off with high casualties. And I think there's some completions in there for some Ogres as well. It has everything that we wanted from a stunty face-off.
It was. And at the end of the day, both coaches had a great experience, had a good time. And Elliot said that was his favourite game ever of Goblins. So from that perspective, I think they both did really well. Yes, you had everything like Bomber. Yes, you had Skitter, who looked suspiciously like an orc, like a goblin, but that didn't matter. It was a lot of fun. Both coaches enjoying it, embracing the evening, and it was one of those games when it's next to you, that enthusiasm is very, very infectious. So a big thank you to both coaches for making it a really good game of Stunty.
Tom, it was clearly not a lot to pick between these two, but Elliot's had the stronger season out of these stunty teams. And we know that Goblins can upset anyone on their day if the weapons work in their favor. So how do we think Elliot can sort of progress if he makes it into that top playoff? Do you think he can take a claim at that Stunty Cup?
Oh, I don't know. I know another Goblin coach who would be sorely annoyed if that actually came about. But I think with Goblins, they are so unique. You have to kind of embrace the madness of them. With this game, it seemed to have started off really well, getting 2 touchdowns in the first half in relatively quick succession before the Ogres really started to grind them down and start injuring and even killing Skitter stab. So it may have been a little bit frustrating or even a bit worrying to Elliot for going into the second half, because they started to really cause a lot of injuries. And love the fact that in the last couple of turns there was completions galore for the Ogre team. So I don't know if that's helped any of those Ogres get some nice new skills at all.
Yeah, I wonder, with the Ogres, you've got that throw teammate threat more than maybe, some other teams, because you've got so many players that you can do it. You can kick as well, kick a teammate, which is better than a throw. So yeah, I'd love to have seen kind of how this one was unfolding near the end, but well done to Elliot. A good result here, a good kind of one hand on the Stunty Cup.
Just something to make you
going
smile
forward.
and to think about, gentlemen. Just as something, when you look at Carl on his ogres, he now has 3 ogre blockers with break tackle. So if you ever want the most agile of ogre teams, this is possibly in for that shout as well.
Well, let's have a look at the next game then, which is the Wildermere Wasps versus the Foxhall Road Scavengers. A 3-1 victory for the Necromantic Horror side against the Black Orcs. It was another end of group stage must win game. But unfortunately, the Necromantic Horror side had the better on this day against the Black Orcs, who did take the lead here on turn 7. But a quick response on turn 8 left the ball very much in Dave Rue's court, and he's gone to capitalise on that to get the 3 points here, and 3 points that make him look like he could just snatch that first place in the group. Dave has only lost 1 game this season so far. Otherwise, it is all wins. Which compared to the 2 draws that the Dwarves have got means that he now is looking like he could just squeeze himself into that first place and maybe get himself a slightly easier draw. Tom, Dave has done very well because we looked at his first game. It was a tough one. He lost his first game against Jamie this season. And we were a little bit worried because we know that Necromantic Horror can take a bit more time to skill up. But he's been patient, and now he's got what looks like a very strong team.
Yes, compared to other teams, it looks a bit light on the additional skills, but as you quite rightly pointed out, it does take a while to skill up Necromantic Horror teams. He has got 12 players, so he's got a spare zombie lineman, and in this particular game, he's played very, we know Dave, he can play any kind of format really, and it seems that he has kind of got away with a few things. He managed to cause a casual stray on turn 1, but then on turn 2 he got a wraith straight out on his own side by a Black Orc. Then the fouls started coming in thick and fast by the looks of things, which then led to the Black Orcs taking the lead. Then straight away on turn 8, the Ghoul Runner equalised, which is pretty special. So it'd be interesting to see how he played that, or how they got to that point after just 1 turn. Then the second half, a little bit quieter, a few more casualties, more on the Necromantic Horror side, and 2 touchdowns, both for Dover the Werewolf. So, yeah, well played. Unfortunately, he's going to have 1 Ghoul Runner missing next game, but luckily that's not a big positional for him on his team.
Scott, it's been a tough season for Simon. He did get an early draw in this group, and he did get himself a win against the Wood Elves, but otherwise he's struggled a little bit. Do you think, looking at his team here, he's only got the 1 reroll with this Black Orc team? They're not an overly quick team. He's got some good skills on there to kind of help him with the lack of rerolls. Is that something that maybe, he's got the money that he could invest in in another reroll? Is that something you think maybe he should consider for playoffs?
I think if Simon is going to go into the playoffs, because after this he was quite adamant he wasn't going to play them again. From what Simon has said, I think he's looking for something to give him a bit more, something of a bit of a difference from a Blood Bowl coaching perspective. The 1 reroll is definitely an impact, Chris. As soon as his train trolls seem to go stupid every other activation, which never helps at all. And Dave, as Tom alluded to, took full advantage of that. It was a 2-turn touchdown, by the way, Tom, because Simon had scored on his turn 7. So Dave had 7 and 8 to get that 2-turn score as well. But in terms of that, I think the fact that Simon plays the game with, again, such a great attitude and infectious entertainment. Will we see the last of Mooney? Maybe at the moment, maybe in a few more seasons, depending on, again, how they come about with season 3. hopefully we might see a lot more of the teams of legend making a reappearance in terms of, how they, maybe we'll see the Inglorious, not just the Inglorious Bastards for Nurgle, but we might see the Tetanus Hotspews coming back and other teams like that. Who knows? Are we going to see the OWA come back, Chris?
No, we're not.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure to see Moonface fouling up and down the field. I hope we see some iteration of him in the future. It would be great because that goblin does look terrifying and could cause some problems. But a strong result for Dave here, and one that puts him in a good position moving forward. On to our penultimate game then, and it is a 1-1 draw between the Harlequins and I Hate Blood Bowl, a game that was another kind of critical one, really, because a win for either team in this game would have secured their place in the playoffs. But a 1-1 draw here leaves this group absolutely on a knife edge going into the last week, with 5 teams able to take 3 out of 5 positions that will get them into the top playoff bracket. So an intriguing one here. And Tom, one that I don't think I was really sure which way it was going to go, because Simon is having a really strong season with this team. It feels like he's found a team that he really gels with, but Goblins are very tricky. So it was difficult to call, and maybe the result reflects that.
Yeah, especially with a Morg on the pitch as well. So it is that kind of annoying thing with Goblins. If your dice don't roll right, they just keep dodging away and just going all over the place. And that can sometimes upset your own game, because they can start spreading your players out thinly, and that's when the problems start to happen. But with this one, it seems like seems like an even-sided kind of teams here, especially with the fact, like I say, with Morg and also Bomber. With any Bomber on the pitch is always a big threat. So, yeah, I don't know how to really take this one without actually watching it. It seems to be quite light on what we got information-wise.
Scott, both of these teams are in a position where they could get into the top playoff bracket. There are some vampires and some gnomes who are going to try and disrupt that as the week goes on, but these guys both have track position. We were talking about how the dark elves have kind of been a mixed bag. Simon kind of sums that up quite nicely, because he's had mixed results. He's had some very good, some very bad, but within all of that, he's managed to build a team that is maybe not massively high on skills, but is looking pretty solid.
I think he's done well for a first season with Elf. Any Elf team we know can be an investment, almost a labour of love. So coming back from that 4-2 loss against James, 2 wins, then bit of a stumble again against the Amazons of Harrison and against Mitch's, and that are nice. But to come back with a 1-0 win, to get that 1-1 draw and cement it, and as you rightly say, guys, it's interesting how Simon has built this team. It's all blodge. Yeah, if you look at it, it's all blodge in terms of how he's doing. Apologies, everybody, if you can hear that in the background. Mr. Tom Feeks of New Dice Please fame is proving to be a bit needy this evening. Maybe needs a hug. Who knows? But as we say, he's got a lot of blodge pieces, so they're always going to be difficult to put down. Again, he does have players there, both of his witch elves, who, depending on who he meets and this blitzer up here, he could put specific skills for a specific opposition. So it really adds a nice bit of mix in terms of how the knockouts will transpire. And I think Simon seems to have found his groove with these guys as well.
Both these two will be keeping an eye on fixtures elsewhere to see how their playoffs are going to end. They're both where they need to be. They've both done what they need to do. They're relying on other results now to remove them. And Elliot has games in hand, so the future is in his own hands. So we'll see what happens there. But we will go to the last game of the week. We started with Robert, we're finishing with Robert, and it was a 4-1 victory, 4-2 on casualties for the North side over the Giggling Gits Goblin team. a game which both coaches looked like they were having an absolute ball in this one in the shop on Sunday, both having an absolutely great time. I was sat outside in Hopsters having a drink. With Leanne's other half, and she ran out of the shop completely excited because she had scored a one-turn touchdown with throw teammate to level the game. I think, Scott, this one is we probably saw the result coming. Robert is looking really, really strong. He knows what he's doing. He's really hit the ground running coming back this season. So we probably thought he was going to get the win. But the takeaway here is both these coaches had an absolute ball and were just enjoying every second.
Agree, Chris. Robert should be christened, brutal Handley, because he really has dished out a lot of casualties and accrued a lot of SP this season as well. But to see the enthusiasm of Leanne to still wanting to play again, this was the first season she scored more than 2 touchdowns. She did it off her own coaching skills. There was no one around supporting or helping. She did it. She could have got a second one-turn touchdown as well had dice rolled another way. So it just shows that there is progression. Sometimes it might not feel like it, but we can see progression. Last year, we saw Leanne score a touchdown. This year we've seen her do 2, and she's pushing teams, a lot harder in terms of how that she's playing Goblins, and Goblins are not an easy team as your rookie season as well. So I think again the enthusiasm and the enjoyment of the game from Leanne and Robert as well was great to see.
Tom, what do we think Robert's chances are here at going all the way in the Champions playoff? He's cemented his position in second in the group with this win. He's got a strong team there to build on. Do we think he is, top 4, getting into those semi-finals? Is he one of the ones to beat at this stage?
Possibly. He's got quite possibly the largest team with 14 players in it. But there has been a couple of bloody noses in there. So he's got a couple of linemen with stat busts and a berserker with stat busts. However, he's kept a few key players, slowly building them up. Movement 8 Valkyrie, with which is a blodge Valkyrie as well, is a real threat in there. And not to mention the other one, who's got sure hands, leader, dodge, tackle, and block. So there are some dangerous characters in there, and he's kind of, I don't know whether he might change it, might get rid of a few things. He's got 2 beer balls there. Do you need 2 beer balls? I don't know.
It's interesting because I guess they're handy kind of fouling pieces. I mean, they do help with the pickup for some of those drunkards as well. I think, it's he does have a big squad, but I think going into the next round, he's not got a squad that is so much higher value than other squads he's going to face. So I think he could find himself in quite a nice place come the playoffs.
Beer balls are used for fouling, as Robert has successfully shown as well. Just a quick question: at the moment not being a coach of the Norse, is Pick Me Up stacking, or is it just a 5-up?
It doesn't stack, no.
Okay, so there you go. Thank you.
Well, that's all our games for this week. Let's have a little look at the tables then. And Dark Side, we're starting to get a bit more of a picture on how this group is going to end. James has definitely got his space at the top there. But there are 2 games left to play for the Los Amazon Dodgers, who could move themselves up, at least joint on points, depending on tiebreakers. Then you've got this fight between the Harlequins, I Hate Blood Bowl, the Wardenhof Blood Knights, and Sir Honkington's Folly. All of them could finish in that top 5. And remember, because the Argartha Mewers are not proceeding, top 5 is all they need. So 10 points are there. They're must-win games for Sir Honkington's Folly and for Wardenhof Blood Knights. And then it is all going to come down to the tiebreakers. So it's going to be a really tight one to watch. Looking at Longship, we're starting to see how this group is going to end as well. The I-Town Gougers sitting comfortably at the top, and Robert joins them with the Tipsy Tankards on second. Vauxhall Road Scavengers can move top of this group with a win in their last game. Top four in this group is confirmed. Lavender Lynxes cling on 9 points in fourth place. And Swamp Dome, we know, has been sorted for a while, but we will know how many points Greystone Gladiators and Blob finish on at the bottom of the group. No positions can change place, however, they are all set in stone. And that is everything. That is all of our games from this week. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. There is just 1 week left of group games, and then we will be into the playoffs. Some positions still to be decided, particularly in that top group. And next week, Scott and Tom will be bringing you all of the action from the week's fixtures as well.
Chris, what's the rule if people cannot complete all of their games by the 7th next Sunday?
Then admins will make a ruling on the result.
Okay. And just to remember, guys, your mugs. Don't forget your mugs. £15, £6 goes to charity. Make your life complete. Be as good, as cheeky as James Handley, as honey dribbling laden as Carl, and as necromantic horrorful as Jane. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll be back next week for more roundups, and we will see you then.